its own way.
Well, greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey and from me. I'm not quite sure what Mickey's doing, but we'll wait for her to settle. In fact, we won't wait for her to settle. We will not wait for her to settle. We will plunge right in. Mix, come on. Why don't you sit down here? Sit down here. That's a good girl. You stay right there with your motty. Good girl, good girl, good girl. Anne Jonasson says, take a closer look at the photo. M's extra long thumb and Lily's long fingers on her right hand. This, of course, is one of the very many comments that I have received from people who have informed me that I was quite wrong to say the picture was okay. I'm referring, of course, not to the Christmas card, because they wouldn't have done anything as conventional and traditional as sending out Christmas cards or Christmas greetings. I'm speaking about their holiday card and their holiday greetings, because we need to remember we're dealing with very precious people. They're very progressive and they can't be bothered with rubbish like tradition. No, no, no. And notwithstanding the fact that his grandmother is the head of the Church of England, God forbid that on Christmas Day or at Christmas you should say Merry Christmas. Not when you can be really progressive and speak about Happy Holidays. We're from California. We don't believe in anything like Christmas. Although, of course, for those of us who are lucky, Christmas Day comes 365 days a year. Well, I have received, as I said, so many comments about the photographs that I will make one observation. When I said that I did not think the photograph was photoshopped, but it was retouched by the photographer, it's tantamount to the same thing. A professional photographer retouches a photograph while a non-professional photoshops it. So what I was trying to say nicely was that the photograph has been retouched by a professional. Now, an awful lot of people have gone to an awful lot of trouble to look into that photograph and to come up with various theories, many of which could well be sound. I'm not dismissing them out of hand. Yes, there are many oddities in the photograph. Well, I have to tell you, I have posed for photographs, group photographs, for various things. For instance, celebs on the farm. They had a huge group photograph, but each of us was photographed individually, and we were all dropped into the photograph. People did notice many anomalies, such as the fact that a 2-month-old baby wouldn't be able to hold its head up properly. That was one of the many anomalies. Well, a 3-month-old baby who is progressive might well be able to hold up her head. I just make that point for what it's worth. It could have been at the end of summer, but there are many anomalies that people find disturbing with the picture. And the reality is there's practically nothing that Meghan and Harry do that doesn't cause disturbance on one level or another. Now, a part of that is, of course, because everybody has sussed the fact that there is nothing they do that is natural and unposed and unpremeditated and unstrategic. I have to say, if their enemies had come up with worse PR for them, they couldn't have done better than Sunshine Sachs, Meghan and Harry have done for themselves. So, having cleared that hurdle, maybe we can now go to what June Sherwood has to say. Because Meghan and Harry, of course, waded in, as they do with everything, being chief royals in the whole of the universe. And of course, they had to wade in when Archbishop Tutu died. And I have a plethora of feedback on that issue. June Sherwood says, there are no documented photographs taken during their visit of Desmond Tutu holding their baby. All the photos show Meghan holding Archie, not even one of Archie being held. And had he been, there would have been a photo for the world press. Another Harkle lie. Really very stupid to tell such stupid lies, isn't it? Or maybe we should say, really rather unfortunate that their powers of recall are so slight that they actually cannot recollect what actually happened, but have to put their own personal spin on it, so that what they remember bears no relationship to what actually took place. Along the same lines, because I want to share all of this with you, because I think it's fun for us to realize that a lot of us are very observant. Itzims says, Lady C, Desmond Tutu did not hold Archie. There were photographers present the entire, in big block capitals, time. If it happened, there would be pictures of it. Yet another instance of recollections may vary. So well spotted. Thank you. Gilly Armson says, Tutu never held their son at any time. More lies out of their attention-seeking mouth traps. And I thought I'd share that one with you, because it's just so obvious that people are on to them. And hopefully one of their people who might be watching this will convey the message to them. Start speaking the truth, or at least a version of it that approximates with the reality, instead of coming up with fanciful recollections that everybody knows is rubbish, will be nothing but rubbish. Paula Lee McGee says, I was appalled by Hasnoballs and Meghalaya. Self-serving speech and their attempt to brag about Desmond Tutu holding Archie, especially since Hasnoballs wrote one loveless sentence for his grandfather on his passing. I know that many people in Australia are disgusted that he did not have the decency to show respect and honour his grandfather when he died, but lies about Archbishop Tutu holding Archie. Surely, Lady C, if that was true, Meghalaya would have made sure the photos were published in People magazine. She certainly would have. She would have got several of her friends to leak them. unbeknownst to her, just to show the world how much she's suffering, on an official visit with Archbishop Tutu. And Sunshine Sackless would have been all over it for PR. Good grief, when are they going to realise that we have had enough of their manipulative, spiteful, vindictive behaviour? Not to mention, my dear, their virtue signalling. Anyway, Mark Frew says, more lies from the dastardly duo. The whole meeting between them was filmed. At no time did Archbishop Tutu hold Archie. Hawes and Meghan have absolutely no shame. And the last comment, and I think it's important that I read this out because these are representative of thousands of opinions. Sherry Farr says, Desmond Tutu did not approve of Harry's wife. She was everything he disapproved of in a person. Well, I don't know who told her that, but I gather that Archbishop Tutu was no fan of Meghan and Harry towards the end of his life, and that he did not approve of their conduct. He was a great admirer of the Queen, a great admirer of the Prince of Wales, and grew to admire greatly William and Catherine. Harry and Meghan, a man who spent his whole life striving for peace and love and harmony, was hardly going to regard as admirable the conduct of people who got on television and in exchange for not 30 pieces, but millions of pieces of silver, were trashing people he admired and thought were working towards the benefit of mankind. I put that little oar in so that we can paddle upstream accurately. Lynn Blows says, Dear Lady C, looking forward to your New Year's Day video. Thank you very much. It's going to be fun. I hope you will enjoy it. I'm certainly going to enjoy doing it. I hope you will give us your views on the series A Very British Scandal. I have watched it all. I don't think it showed the Argyll family in a very good light. I wonder how much poetic license was employed. I am sure that you will be able to enlighten us as you have had years of dealing with them firsthand. I wish you and your family a happy new year. Thank you very much. Yes, I will be addressing A Very British Scandal, but I'm not going to do it until after the new year. I'm not doing it in this episode, and I'm not going to do it in the next one. I will do it in the one afterwards. So it will really be my second episode of the year. And I will go into it. I will say I have looked at it. I found the whole thing extremely painful and distressing. Some of it has left me feeling very raw. It was wildly poetical. But I suppose the BBC didn't want the truth. And that's why they didn't approach either me or Brian Sweeney, Margaret, Duchess of Argyll's son. And to those of you who don't know what we're speaking about, A Very British Scandal was a 3-part series that aired on BBC One at 9 o'clock on Boxing Day night and the 2 successive nights thereafter. Peak television viewing time. It concerns the marriage and the breakup of the marriage of my father-in-law, who was the 11th Duke of Argyll, and his third wife, Margaret, Duchess of Argyll. And to those of you who would like to know what she looked like, Google her, Margaret, Duchess of Argyll. I will say one thing, petty, before leaving. She was never Margaret Campbell, Duchess of Argyll. She was the Duchess of Argyll, Christian name Ethel Margaret, known as Margaret. Duchesses do not take the surname of their husband. They take as their surname his title. I do wish Wikipedia and the BBC and the tabloids would get it right, even on such a tiny detail as that. They get it wrong. Very pathetic. Sophia Mohammed says, Dear Lady C, as you know, recently a man broke into Windsor wishing to kill Her Majesty the Queen. Richard Eden, who is a British columnist, tweeted his concern that this may be because of Harry and Meghan inciting racial hatred towards the royal family. Can you talk about treason in the olden days and whether it is applicable in our modern world? Many thanks, and with greatest respect, love to you and to Mickey. Well, that's a weighty question. It is very unfortunate the young man seems to be have been radicalized and seems to have degenerated mentally during lockdown. It would appear, if some of the reports are accurate, that he is a Sikh who was trying to avenge the massacre of Amritsar in 1919. Well, why would you wish to kill this queen for something that no British king did, and that the army officer who did it, his name was Dyer, ended up being cashiered out of the army, if I remember correctly. It was a very, very unfortunate incident. And this is the sort of thing, regrettably, that happens when people are agitating and other people are trying to control them. But it was a peaceful gathering of protesters, and he shot into them. It was one of the things that led to the British withdrawal from India, ultimately. I have no doubt that Harry and Meghan's race baiting and their mysterious, mischievous putting into the frame all of the royal family except the Queen and Prince Philip will have played adversely upon the minds of many people who have racist tendencies. This is where their divisiveness is so dangerous. Is their behavior treasonable? Let me put it this way. 300 years ago, they wouldn't have lasted 3 weeks and kept their heads. Is the attempted murderer's behavior treasonous? I don't know that it is treasonous per se, but wishing the death of a monarch can be regarded as treasonous. Either way, it's completely undesirable. The whole question is a moot one. And of course, security has been beefed up. But the fact of the matter is, when you're dealing with mad people, and this guy seems to be mad, you know, it's almost impossible to protect people against true insanity, which of course is one of the problems in dealing with Meghan and Harry, because some of their behavior is so off the wall, some of their objectives seem to be so injurious to this nation's welfare and the welfare of their family and the welfare of the monarchy, that several people have validly asked the question, are they nuts? Gladys Kuzmich, Gladys Kuzmich says, while it could be that the birth of a girl would make a true family in Meghan's feminist mind, as Lady C suggests, I think it is far simpler. Meghan Markle is pushing for paid family leave now in her bid to become known as a political figure. People might wonder, why now? And not after Archie was born. Her contrived answer is that she only understood the struggles of a family after a second child was born. The first child was just a hobby. That's a very interesting observation that you make. And it actually goes to the heart of the matter, because when Archie was born, Meghan was still in Britain. Meghan was still a member of the royal family. Meghan was still accepted as a working member of the royal family. She had no incentive to politicize and capitalize upon Archie's birth politically the way she has done with Lily's birth. So you're right. It's not that Lily is a girl, although on the face of it, that could be one interpretation of it. I think the reality is that the opportunity knocked the second time around, and she had to find a way of covering up for the fact that she was not only going to take political advantage and make political capital out of Lily's birth, but she was going to have to cover up for the fact that she hadn't done it with Archie. So I think that's what that's all about. B. Max B says, hi Lady C. I think Lily has Morton's toe like Meghan. Do you agree? Morton's toe, to those of you who don't know, is and it's a a physiological explanation for people whose second toe is significantly longer than their big toe. It was called by a certain Dr. Morton metatarsus atavicus, which is, something that is atavistic, is sort of pre-human, when pre-humans would use their toes to grasp. And in certain cultures, it's called Greek foot, as opposed to Egyptian foot, which Archie has, which is tapering toes. Greek foot is a certain type of foot where the big toe is significantly shorter than the second toe. Interestingly enough, the Statue of Liberty has Morton's toe. The French not only called it pied grec, while the Italians would call it piede greco, but the French also call it pied ancestral and piede Neanderthal. So they're saying that people who have this sort of foot are very well connected footwise to their Neanderthal origins. Well, the baby certainly has that foot arrangement, let's call it that. The baby also has another interesting thing with her feet that nobody else seems to have picked upon, which is that her little toe is significantly longer than her second to last toe. She has really very interesting feet. Now, we all know that Meghan has feet that she regards as disfigurements, and therefore she always wears shoes whenever possible. And whenever she has not worn shoes, she's tried to wear sandals that minimized what she regards as the disfigurement of her feet. Well, she did have bunions, so those are definitely disfigurements. But I'm not so sure that I would call pied de Neanderthal a disfigurement, so much as simply an earthier form of foot. Very interesting, very interesting. Jay's Day says, Lady C, nothing about that photo adds up. From the clothing choices, sweater in a California summer, to the size of that baby, to the drastically changed looks in the boy, to the odd lighting, positioning. It all looks way too fake. Well, I'd say it was very contrived. In fact, she's backpedaling on the photo now because photographers, including the Daily Mail and the UN, whatever that is, have totally analysed it, and it's beyond photoshopped. It doesn't take an expert to see it's just manufactured beyond any credibility. Makes you wonder who those kids really are. Well, isn't it interesting that we are having this conversation at all? Doesn't it show how adept Meghan is at creating conversations and keeping herself topical? Isn't it really interesting? J.M. says, Dear Lady C, I have just listened to your video again this afternoon. It was past midnight when your video was posted and I was just about to go to bed, but I did listen to it till the end, sleepy as I was. Thank you very much. Oh, well. Anyway, with due respect, I don't agree with your views on the photo. It was not authentic. In my opinion, it was photoshopped. I zoomed in and noticed Meghan's thumb was amazingly long and disjointed. And that finger sticking out. Who holds a baby up like that? Point taken. Surely her fingers would be wrapped around the baby. Well, not if she's elegant. Remember, Meghan's got class. You know, when she drinks tea, she's got to cock her finger. And when she's holding the baby, she's got to make sure that she holds the baby in such a way that you've got to know that she's classy. You've got to be classy. Surely her fingers would be wrapped around the baby. And if the photo was taken in the summer, wouldn't the baby be too small and fragile to be held up like that? Point taken. Many people have also pointed out other oddities about the photo. I respect your opinion, but I have my doubts about the photo. Well, as I said before, if the baby were 3 months and a bit, she might be able to hold her head up without much difficulty. 2 months, but 3 months. But you see, everything with them has to be a mystery. Nothing adds up. And when things don't add up, people start to wonder what on earth is going on. Sophie DLC says, the good thing is that Catherine outshone the Harkles Christmas card with her carol piano playing. That is wonderful. Yes, it is wonderful. And yes, despite Meghan and Harry's best efforts to knock the Cambridges off the perch that they have been occupying with increasing confidence, it didn't work. It didn't work. Because one was praised for what she did, and the other, as you can see, we're still trying to find out where the truth lies, even with a mere photograph. Dennis King says, Dear Lady C, I predicted in a comment to you on the same day that the Cambridges released their brilliant Christmas card photo that the Sussexes would make a Christmas card photo showing Lili in an attempt to top it. Well, it was released. Laugh out loud. Happy holidays. Dennis King, you're a fortune teller. Would you like to come and read fortunes at weddings at Castle Goring? Because you've certainly been absolutely on the nose with that one. Victoria Churchyard says, I was thinking about what you have said about Lady Diana as a mother and a person. I believe that Diana's disdain for the media, her trickster behaviour, playing games with them and feeding them lies, at times is what Harry is now doing. He was old enough to listen in on his mother's justification and pranks on the media. It's like if your child picks up a bad habit off of you and doesn't really get that it's a bad trait until they grow up and someone else corrects them. Interesting point. Learned bad behaviour. Maybe he thinks this is how you play the game. Lady C, do you think that's possible? Hildy. I certainly think it's possible. Not only do I think it's possible, I have said it in other words before. Harry has learnt a lot of what he does and what he allows Meghan to do from having observed his mother. Diana had a very love-hate relationship with the press. Harry has a hate relationship with the press, but loves the attention. Diana had a love-hate relationship with the press. She loved when they wrote nice things about her. She hated when they didn't write about her. And she was depressed when they didn't write nice things about her. But she loved being written about. Harry basically loves the attention too. You know, I brought my children up with one mantra above all else. Even if you lie to other people, don't lie to yourself. When people have very mixed relationships, irrespective of whom or what it is with, they often lie to themselves because they don't want to say, I'm a press junkie. I'm an attention junkie. I love attention. I want it. I want really only good attention, but I'll settle for bad rather than none. It takes maturity to accept the fact that one is flawed and that one is not perfect and that one may have virtues but that one often has corresponding failings. I think Harry has learnt the lessons very well from his mother. I think he's not understood the nuanced and rounded nature of his mother's attitude. He's just taken it at face value. But then it could be said that Harry is a very shallow person, because you really have to be very shallow to be with somebody like Meghan for any length of time and not start to do the math. Because when people like that, nothing adds up. And you really have to be very blind to facts and figures to keep on hearing 2 and 2 equals 22, when every time you put down 2 balls and another 2 balls and you juggle those 4 balls, they're only 4 instead of 22. Very perplexing. I think we're really dealing with people who are seriously out to lunch on some level. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope you have enjoyed this. If you have, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, keep the questions coming in, and have a wonderful New Year. Well, at least New Year's Eve. God bless you. Bye-bye.